Jim Harbaugh brought discipline and belief to the Chargers, but the reality is that the Bolts could take a step back this season thanks to hits to both the offensive and defensive lines. Hi, I'm James the Faithful Angelino Sports with a season preview for Chargers football. And if you enjoy talking about the Bolts, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We talk Chargers football almost every day here. And by the way, I realize I'm recording it in an awkward location. Longtime viewers know I'm constantly traveling. These are the things that happen. So, as for this team, we are going to wind up talking a lot about the linemen because Jim Harbaugh, despite having been a quarterback in the NFL, he insists that linemen are weapons. And now the cachet has been depleted, guys. So, I realize that everybody wants to say, oh, year 2 under Harbaugh, there's going to be an even bigger takeoff. But for me to buy into this idea that the Chargers are a Super Bowl contender, I would have to accept that they will be that without arguably their biggest weapon in left tackle Rashawn Slater. Justin Herbert is not the biggest weapon. For that matter, Khalil Mack isn't even the biggest weapon because he's technically not a lineman. Harbaugh, to his credit, was all about instilling a well-trained, muscular approach, completely rebuilt Chargers culture in less than a year. In his first season, Harbaugh utilized this brand of football and more than doubled the regular season wins that what the Bolts had in the previous year. But a fateful morning in Houston exposed all the flaws on the roster. For example, the Texans that day stunted their defensive linemen to avoid the Chargers' elite offensive tackles, and they just plowed right through the interior offensive line, and by extension, they plowed through Herbert, who had a career worst day, I might add. Even worse, that problem got worse in the offseason because they not only had issues on the offensive line, now they had one on the defensive line when they lost tackle Poona Ford to the Rams. So you're saying, okay, did the Chargers address any of these deep wounds? Not exactly. They added a damn fine right guard in Mekhi Becton, a free agent who played for Philadelphia. But other than that, the front office actually zigged when they should have zagged. They spent far much more capital trying to upgrade at offensive skill positions. Meanwhile, the coaching staff is left to repeat a party line like it's a mantra. Our depth will save us. Our depth will save us. And therein lies the problem. Because that depth started to get tested during training camp. We don't have any other reason other than their word to believe that the depth is actually going to survive this. It's easier to argue that the offensive line is now worse than it was when the Chargers got their heads kicked in Houston. Slater, he resets the market for offensive linemen. It was the biggest contract extension in league history for a lineman. And how did he celebrate getting generational wealth? By destroying his knee. He's done for the year. It was the quickest example of chargering I've ever heard. Now, please understand, nobody is saying that moving right tackle Joe Alt to the left side is a bad idea. He's very likely up to the challenge. But again, now you're talking about the depth. You have weakened the depth because Slater can't go. The Chargers had no other choice but to revive Trey Pipkins to play right tackle. Then you look at the rest of the offensive line. Yeah, you have Becton at right guard, but you have the same center, the same left guard that were just absolutely brutalized by the Texans. Had Alt stayed on the right side, if Slater was healthy and Alt stayed on the right side, he would have been lining up next to Becton. Now you have two elite blockers on the right side. You can easily envision the Chargers effectively running to that side. That's not the case now. So, if the offensive line is worse, which is a distinct possibility, that would make running the ball more difficult, wouldn't you say? ESPN, before Slater got injured, they were touting rookie running back Omarion Hampton as a potential offensive rookie of the year. But that's not going to happen without blocking, guys. For that matter, free agent addition Najee Harris, 3 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing years because he came from Pittsburgh, which has an offensive line. You started to get the idea? The Chargers also benefited from the most efficient season Herbert could ever hope for. The dude just threw 3 interceptions in the regular season. That's it. If he's under much more pressure, do you really think that is going to repeat itself? Because turnovers do lead to losses. Now, it is true that the Bolts did spend capital to try to upgrade the receiving core. Ladd McConkey compiled a terrific rookie season. He compiled more than 1,100 receiving yards out of the slot. Beyond that, yeah, there's more bodies there, but the receiver room looks a little undefined. It's very likely that the returning Keenan Allen was going to start. The Chargers then drafted 2 wide receivers. Trey Harris actually looks ideal as an outside receiver, but the Bolts are claiming that Quentin Johnston is moments away from finally justifying that draft slot from a couple of years ago. So we think they're better at receiver. We just don't know who's going to fill what role. As for the defense, there has been a lot of chatter about coordinator Jesse Minter as a potential future head coach. Considering what he accomplished last year, you can damn sure understand. Prior to his arrival, you could rely on the Chargers' edge rushers getting to the quarterback and nothing else. Nothing else. Minter utilized Ford as a one-man solution to run defense. The Chargers were terrible at stopping the run until Poona Ford and Minter joined forces. Because Ford was so huge, he would take up multiple blockers. And when you take up multiple blockers, the linebackers can read the play and they would make the tackle. And all of a sudden, Chargers, top 10 defense. Just like that. So the Chargers, without Ford, are left to embracing again those cliches. Next man up. Our depth will save us. We don't have to rely on just one guy. Again, that might be true. We just don't know if it's true. Now, I am willing to cut the coaching staff some slack in some respects. The Chargers are cycling in a new wave of young defenders. For all the people who are running around with Khalil Mack jerseys, and he is a surefire Hall of Famer and damn sure worthy of respect, Tuli Tuipulotu actually led the team in sacks last year with 8.5. Linebacker Dion Henley was top 10 in tackles last year with 147. But for Mack and Tuipulotu to have a clear path to the quarterback, for Henley and Denzel Perryman to read the play and take down running backs, that's why the interior defensive line matters. The Chargers are claiming that they have 6 guys they can cycle in at tackle. They're saying that. If I were to guess what they really want, I think they really want rookie Jamboree Caldwell to mature like really soon. He's 340 pounds. You put that dude in the middle, he can't be handled by just one man on the offensive line. You could even argue he's probably the key to their defense and by extension their season, because their defense is going to have to bail them out of quite a few games while they try to figure out how to block on offense. We mentioned the starting linebackers. That's absolutely a strength, but the defensive backfield is a portrait in extremes. The Chargers are going to run a lot of nickel defense, almost exclusively, but 3 safeties are going to start. Now that's the strength in the backfield. Derwin James, Alohi Gilman, Elijah Molden. I wrote this preview down the night before the season opener. The Chargers still haven't told us who the starting cornerbacks are, guys. It was already a revolving door at cornerback last season. And whether the coaching staff wants to admit it or not, that too is an issue. So what do we have when we look at the team overall? There's a trendy thing that the scribes are doing. They're claiming Denver is going to pass the Chargers to be the second best team in the AFC West. Now, I don't want to join into that. That sounds too flavor of the monthy for me. I will say I don't think the Chargers are better than Kansas City. I could see the Chargers miss the playoffs. I also believe that their ceiling is qualifying and getting knocked out in the first round again. Harbaugh's fingerprints are all over this franchise in a manner that precious few coaches and managers can for any team. Credit to him for that. He may come off to the press as secretive. He may come off in the locker room as a little bit corny. But for this team to get anywhere, for this team to beat the expectations I just put down, that coaching staff is going to have to slather more makeup on that team than the cast of MILF Manor. Because even though he's a former quarterback, like I said, Harbaugh really values linemen. And I just don't think he has the horses. I just don't. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. If you enjoyed talking Chargers football with me today, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelinos. We talk Bolts football almost every day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. Faithful Angelinos is a Kia and Corte El Queso production. Take care.